Happy Thursday. I had to double check what day it is, but it is Thursday. Happy Thursday, everyone. This is Keep It Real with Testa and Neal. I'm Shea Neal, alongside with me, Parker Testa. We got a lot to get into today, and we're going to start off with some NBA stuff today. Since we forgot to talk, we talked NFL for an hour and a half yesterday and forgot that the NBA playoffs were on, but we're going to make up for it. We got 2 days worth of NBA games to talk about today, so we'll open up the show with that. A little later on, a lot of NFL news to get into, Parker. Adam Vinatieri, the greatest kicker in the history of football, finally calls it a career before his grandson gets into the NFL. As well as some news surrounding Tim Tebow, some news surrounding Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady going back and forth on Twitter. A lot to get into in the NFL, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of beef with the announcement of the match yesterday with Phil Mickelson, Aaron Rodgers, as well as Brady and Bryson DeChambeau. So lots to get into with that. Lots of Twitter trash talk, which is always interesting.
And I can't lie, that sounds like the most golfer country club name I've ever heard in my life. Bryson DeChambeau. Like, that's literally just sounds like the rich kid at the country club.
And he looks like it too.
Yeah. So we'll get into that a little bit later on in hour number one. Hour number two, we took your suggestions and we're going to do the best logos in sports today. And I'm excited for that. So let us know. Follow us on Twitter at Parker Testa, at ESPN Shea Neal, and let us know some of your favorite logos in sports. We'd love to interact with you on that segment as well. And then, hey, if we still have enough time at the end of it, the Raider gang starts their quest for the Horizon League Championship today, Parker.
They do. Let's get it.
I'm absolutely excited. Strand gets the ball for the Raider gang, and all your favorite Raiders will be in action. Damon Dews, Quincy Hamilton, Tyler Black, Alex Sire, Sammy Sass. I mean, Zane Harris. This team's disgusting. We know that. Alex Alders, Connor Pioto. This team's gross. They're probably going to score 10 or 11 runs, and as long as Strand pitches like Strand's pitched all year, I like their chances today.
I do too. You know, they're the best offense in the nation, in the score as far as scoring goes. They have some really talented pitchers. So if Strand can throw gas like he has all season, I see no reason why the Raiders shouldn't come out today winners.
I couldn't agree more. All right, well, let's get into the start of the show. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on WWSU 106.9 or on our YouTube channel, WWSU 1069. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Hey, we got a brand new sports Twitter account. I know we talked about it yesterday, but WWSU 1069 FM Sports. You can follow it on Twitter. We're trying to grow that slowly but surely, day by day. And I'm sure Parker will be live tweeting as the Raider gang plays today. So make sure you follow that account. And if you can't catch the game today because you're at work or whatever or traveling and you can't catch it on ESPN Plus, make sure you follow that account because I'm sure Parker will be giving you all the updates you need for that. So
Sure will. Actually, live tweeting on it as we speak.
there you go. There you go. See, look, he's already ahead of the game. But let's start it off with the NBA. We forgot to talk about it yesterday again, so we're going to start with Tuesday night's games. Boston hung around in game one to some degree, made it pretty, I mean, 3/4 of a decent game. Game two was all Brooklyn from the opening tip, and that's what I kind of expected without Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum's a top tier talent, but this Brooklyn team's just way too good, and they blew the Celtics out of the Barclays Center.
They did, and I know we expected the Celtics to put up some of a fight, and they did for most of that game, but the Nets ultimately pulled away and pulled out the win there at the Barclays Center, which I expected them to. They're one of the best teams in all of basketball this season, so I would expect them to win this series unless Brad Stevens has some sort of magic that he hasn't pulled out of his sleeve yet.
Yeah, I agree. And it went bad for the Celtics early. I mean, Kemba Walker had 17, Marcus Smart had 19. Tristan Thompson had 15 points and 11 rebounds, but Jason Tatum only in 21 minutes left the game with after getting poked in the eye. Only had 9 points on 3 of 12 shooting and a plus minus of minus 28. So the Celtics' best player was not himself in game two, and that's already, a tough enough hill to climb. And then you also throw in 31 points from James Harden, 19 from Kyrie Irving, and 29 from Joe Harris. Kevin Durant didn't even have to break a sweat and this team scored 130 points. That's what's scary about this Nets team, and the way that the Nets and the way that the Bucks are playing right now. I mean, Nets versus Bucks looks like a heavyweight fight in the second round.
It does, and as well as Giannis is playing right now, I personally I don't think that the Bucks are going to be able to handle all that Steve Nash and the Brooklyn Nets are going to throw at them. I really don't. They're one of the toughest teams in basketball. Like I said, as good as the Milwaukee Bucks are, I expect they'll win at least they'll win one or two against this Brooklyn team, but I don't think they're going to win the series.
No, I don't either. I think that Brooklyn's just too good right now. Just the way both teams are playing, I'd probably pick the Nets in six. But the Bucks have impressed me. I think I had the same stereotype that a lot of people did, and that's that Giannis and the Bucks kind of fall off and underwhelm in the playoffs. And I mean, there's still time for them to do that. They're only up 2 games to none on the Miami Heat, but the way they've looked through the first 2 games so far, the ability for them to win game one, even though they didn't play at their best, says a lot. And then game two, they did play at their best and they looked really, really good. So we've seen both sides of it. We've seen when they play really good basketball and they blow a team out of the water, and we've seen when they don't play that great and they still found a way to win that game.
Yeah, and that's scary. They didn't play at their best, and they was still won by 22 or whatever it was. So imagine if they can win by 22 when they're not playing at their best and put up 130 points. I'm terrified to see what they can do when they're playing at full strength.
Maybe a team that can beat Brooklyn when they're playing at full strength. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, so Brooklyn takes a commanding 2-0 lead to the TD Garden. Game three of that series will be on Friday, I believe. Let me confirm that, but it might be tonight. I should have checked that. See, this is what's beautiful about live radio. I come in unprepared and I just look like a boob, don't I? Yes, game three is on Friday. Celtics and Nets from TD Garden. It'll be at 8:30 on Friday night. So I mean, I don't think it's a bad series, but it's the third most appealing series out of the 3 games that night. I mean, it's sandwiched in between Knicks and Hawks at 7, which has been absolutely elite so far, which we'll get into that in a few minutes. But Knicks and Hawks at 7, and then you throw in Nets and Celtics, and then right after that, it's Mavericks Clippers. And I mean, who in their right mind would watch an undermanned Celtics team get beat up by the Nets when you could watch Knicks Hawks or Luka versus Kawhi?
This is one of the. I mean, I'm watching Luka versus Kawhi. I mean, I don't care if it's unless it's Kobe versus LeBron or Michael Jordan versus uh, Reggie Miller. I'm gonna watch Kawhi versus Luka. I mean, I don't care any other game unless it's like like I said, LeBron versus Kobe. So I'm excited for this. I hope the Clippers can bounce back for the sake of my predictions, but I thought they would bounce back, and we'll see if they do coming up here tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, let's move on to the second game of Tuesday night, and that was the Lakers and the Suns. Anthony Davis has a huge night for the LA Lakers, 34 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and the Lakers get a much needed bounce back performance, win at 109-102, steal home court advantage in the series. LeBron James ended up with 23 points, 9 assists, also hit that big three to kind of put it away. Anthony Davis, 18 of 21 at the free throw line. Really stepped up at the stripe. Dennis Schroeder also had 24, and Andre Drummond had 15 points and 12 rebounds as well. The Lakers, I still think there were some holes there. I still think there were some weaknesses that Phoenix could exploit, but they did a much better job defending Devin Booker. He had 31, but he did it on 41% shooting, and they did not let DeAndre Ayton become dominant. He was good, but he wasn't dominant, and Chris Paul kind of struggled as well. So great game by the Lakers, great bounce back performance. And if they keep playing like that, that's the team that is favored to knock out the Suns.
Yeah, we talked about in our segment a couple of days ago the X factors for each of these teams, and the one for the Suns was DeAndre Ayton, and he played well. He put up 22 and 42 minutes played. But if you're gonna beat this Lakers team, you're gonna need all three of those guys to play well, and that's Ayton, Booker, and Chris Paul. And Chris Paul had an off night And I think that's why the Suns ultimately, you know, couldn't come out of this one with a win because Chris Paul struggled. Even though Booker put up 31 and Ayton played well also with 22, Chris Paul struggled. He had 6 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. So I think that if you're going to beat this Lakers team, you need all three of those guys to play well, and you need a strong performance from your bench. So
Right.
neither of those things happened. Even though two of the three played well, you need all three to play well, and you need a great performance from your bench. Even though Cameron Payne put up 19, you're going to need more than that from your bench. So I think if all three of those guys can play well, and the Suns can continue to win, I think the Suns come out of this series with a win. I really do.
Yeah, it's been back and forth so far in the two games. We've seen highs and lows from both teams, but I tend to agree with you that I think the Suns' lows have been more less of a weakness than the Lakers' lows have, and I think that they're pretty equal in terms of highs. So right now, I think the Suns are the more complete team, even though the Lakers have the more star power. So it's really just a matter of does LeBron fully take this series over, or are the Suns a good enough team to neutralize two of the best basketball players on the planet?
Yeah, it's. I mean, there you can't really defend it. I mean, it's like what Coach Ali Matters told us early in the year for volleyball. How do you defend them? You can't. So they the Lakers are tough because, like you said, they have two of the best basketball players in the world on LeBron and AD. So
Mm-hmm.
they're really tough to stop. So if you can, and you're not going to completely shut them down. You're just not. It's not going to happen. So if you can maintain one of them, you have a shot to win every time. Because if you can't maintain both of them, well, you got to pick one. So um, it's tough when talking about teams like this because they're just so tough. You can't defend them. So
Right.
I know AD had 34 in this game as well. LeBron had 23, Drummond had 15, Schroeder had 24. So this is a really tough team because they have guys like Gasol, they have guys like Kuzma, Alex Caruso, KCP, Schroeder. So it's tough. You can't defend them really well. So because even if you shut one guy, shut one or two guys down, they still have three or four more guys that can come at you and perform well. So just keeping the scoring at a bit of a minimum is how you beat this Lakers team with players playing tremendous defense. So if you can keep scoring at a minimum, and I think 100 points is a pretty good minimum for this Lakers team, and if you can put up over 100 against this Lakers team, which the Suns have, they played very well in that first game. They held the Lakers to just 90 points. That's what you got to do to beat this Lakers team. You got to hold them to minimum scoring and play excellent defense. So, and I think the Suns do that very well. So I think if they come back and play excellent defense here coming up in Game 4, I think they take a commanding 3-1 lead.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Suns are, from what I've seen so far, they, like I said, they have lesser flaws and they just seem like a more balanced and more consistent team than the Los Angeles Lakers. There's a reason why the Suns are the 2 seed and the Lakers are the 7 seed. I mean, I know LeBron and Anthony Davis both missed chunks of time with injury, but the Lakers have been inconsistent all season long, and that's not all because of the injuries. That's also because of inconsistent play from a lot of their role players, not named LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And I mean, even Anthony Davis has been inconsistent at times this year. So this Lakers team, when they're at their best, is maybe the best team in the NBA, but it's becoming more and more rare to see them at their best consistently.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we saw with that's what we saw in this game. As far as team stats go, the Suns shot better from the field. The Suns shot better from the 3-point line. The Suns shot better from the free throw line. But what really you look at is turnovers. Suns had 13, Lakers had 7. Uh, Lakers stole the ball more times than the Suns did. Lakers won the rebounding battle. So those categories that you look at when talking about who comes out on top, it's not about who shoots the ball better. It's about who plays better on the glass, who plays better, or who keeps the turnovers at a minimum. And a lot of times, the team that leads in those stats wins the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, this series, I thought this series would be fun because I thought the Suns didn't get as much credit as they deserved. against the matched up against the Lakers, but the series has been a lot more entertaining than I thought it would be. I thought in the West I'd be watching, Clippers, Mavs, and Nuggets, Blazers, and maybe I'd peek in on John Morant versus the Jazz, but really, it's been. I mean, Mavericks Clippers has been everything I've wanted and then some. But Lakers Suns has maybe been one of the best, the two best series out west. So it's definitely been fun so far, and I'll be watching Game 3 for sure.
And who would have thought we would have said that about a 2-7 series, one of the most fun series of the entire NBA playoffs? Suns and Lakers, that's the 2-7. And who would have thought we would have seen the Lakers as a 7 and the Suns as a 2? It's really insane to see that, but it's been fun to watch, no doubt about it. LeBron's played well. Booker and Ayton have played well of late. So if this series can continue to be as fun as it is, and if the Lakers end up tying up the series here coming up in Game 4, this could go down as one of the best series of the entire NBA playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This Suns team, even if they can't beat the Lakers this year, which I think they have a really good shot of doing it, um, their future is very bright, and I'm very excited for them. With Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Payne played great last night, or on Tuesday night, I should say. This Suns team has a very bright future, and it's exciting with a coach like Monty Williams and a franchise like the Phoenix Suns that have struggled for consistency and successful play in the past. I mean, it's just like a team I'm going to talk about in a little bit, the New York Knicks. I mean, it seems like the Suns and the Knicks are two teams that it's more fun to watch basketball when those two teams are good.
Yeah, it is, and and especially in a market like New York where they're very passionate, and passionate's just is being nice about it. They're downright crazy there in New York about Knicks basketball and really all of New York sports. So when the New York Knicks are winning, the entire state of New York is a lot happier, and especially on the flip side of that, the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix sports is a city that hasn't had a whole lot to cheer about other than the Cardinals, and even them, they haven't been great in recent years. So to see the Suns having success, the Diamondbacks are terrible, but that's beside the point.
The
Um,
Cardinals are going to be good this year, though.
they will. I think they will. But to see the Suns playing well it's gonna make Arizona sports fans pretty happy.
Phoenix, I feel like as a whole, the city of Phoenix is such an underrated place. Like in terms of tourist attractions, in terms of just fun place to be, and in terms of sports, Phoenix is an underrated sports city. I think a lot more people should give a lot more credit to the city of Phoenix, Arizona, because I think it's a lot. You talk about teams or cities in the South, and everyone talks about New Orleans, everyone talks about Atlanta, everyone talks about Miami or Dallas or something like that, and those cities are great. But I think Phoenix is up there as a top tier city in the South.
Yeah, I think they are as well. They're definitely on the rise as far as successful sports teams go. The Cardinals are going to be great this year. The Suns are already great. So if the Coyotes and the Diamondbacks, I had to almost check myself for the name of the hockey team there, but um,
Coyotes.
yeah. So for the Coyotes and for the Diamondbacks, if they can kind of get their act together a little bit, Arizona sports fans are going to be very happy.
No doubt about it. All right, let's move into and last thing I'll say, we're gonna get into the Knicks game here in just a few minutes, but how freaking awesome was Madison Square Garden last night? I'm not even a Knicks fan. One of my buddies that I work with, or TJ Smooth, he's a big Knicks fan. He's from New York. But I mean, it's just so cool to see Knicks fans back in it in playoff basketball. And I mean, this Hawks and Knicks series has been everything I've wanted and then some, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. But just to see Madison Square Garden just breaking freaking noise levels last night was so freaking cool. Just sitting on my couch watching that game. It just felt the NBA, like I said with Phoenix, the NBA feels different and it's more fun to watch basketball when the New York Knicks are good.
It is, and certainly that you know it's really tough, with Knicks fans because they haven't had a whole lot to brag about. Um, You know, they're one of their legends acted like a crazy person and it was kicked out of the arena.
And then there was the
So
whole thing with Charles Oakley too.
right. Ex- Exactly. So it's been a rough go of it for Knicks fans, and to see the Knicks back in the NBA playoffs and to see them being successful in the NBA playoffs is really great for not only Madison Square Garden but for the entire city of New York. Because you know, Jim Dolan has been pretty upset for a long time. So to see the Knicks having success, it's really great to see.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, the Nets are the most talented team in New York. The Knicks are good, but they're young. The Nets are obviously the more talented team, but I think most people would agree with this. I mean, just what we've seen in the playoffs so far, New York's a Knicks city. The Knicks run New York. I mean, I don't care how good the Nets are. The Knicks run New York. I mean, the Nets are good, and the Barclays Center has been cool. But I saw a graphic that really like told me um, the Nets were giving out half price tickets for playoff games if you used promo code Harden. The Knicks had all their playoff tickets sold out in 20 minutes after they posted them. That just tells you New York is a Knicks city.
Yeah, yeah, they did. And this. I mean, I saw an article the other day that was just it summed it up perfectly. Um, the it said it was you know the NBA playoffs started and the Knicks opened with the Hawks, and for once the basketball gods were aligned in the favor of the New York Knicks, and that was really and it's been really true. You know, the Knicks have played fantastically. They tie up the series here in Game 2 last night, so it was really awesome to see the Knicks having success last night, and hopefully they can come out tomorrow night and win another one in Atlanta. Because if they come back to Madison Square Garden, oh boy,
Oh, man.
that's I haven't said much in my lifetime. I'm gonna tune into a Knicks game.
You know what selfish me wants right now? I want the Knicks to knock out the Sixers, and I want MSG and Barclays, Nets, Knicks trading back and forth in the Eastern Conference Finals. New York will be like a freaking Travis Scott pit mosh pit concert. Like it's gonna be insane in New York City. And the selfish sports fan in me really wants to see Knicks Nets.
And who would have thought that we would have seen the New York Knicks as a 4 seed going into the NBA playoffs at the beginning of the year? Nobody
And
would
I'll
have
tell
thought
you right
that.
now. I'll tell you right now. I mean, I don't think everyone's going to agree with this opinion, but what I've seen out of both teams so far, the Sixers and the Knicks, the Sixers look good last night against the Wizards, but I think the Knicks are playing better basketball right now. I think I'd pick the Knicks to beat the Sixers the way they're both playing right now.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. The Knicks first of all just a hell of a story, but the Brooklyn Nets have all the talent in the world, and you know Tom Thibodeau has these Knicks in like the perfect place to make a run.
Yeah, he does. And I was joking with my a couple of my friends last night when we were watching the game. I was like, "Yo, imagine being a world-class athlete, getting to the NBA and playing in Madison Square Garden for the New York Knicks, and then you have to take plays from an overweight white middle-aged man who looks like he's your middle school gym teacher."
It's true.
Like Emmanuel quickly, Obi Toppin was jumping out of the gym last night. But imagine you're Obi Toppin, you were college player of the year, the 8th overall pick. You're the bad boy in New York. You know, you're the big money ticket, what people are spending money to see, and you take orders from Tom Thibodeau.
And who would have thought we would have seen Tom Thibodeau coaching again?
Right.
After he got fired in Chicago, it looked like his career was done, but he comes out with the Knicks and just has
Especially after the
just
Timberwolves. I mean, after the T Wolves, I totally thought he was done.
right. So, and then he comes out this year with the Knicks and just blows the doors off of everybody's expectations, and he's the 4 seed in the NBA playoffs, and they win
Yeah.
last night, and they're going to come out and I think they're going to have a vengeance. They're going to win. I think they're going to win the next two.
I think it was a match made in heaven where I think that the Knicks play their best basketball as an organization when they're a defensive first team that capitalize on their opponent's missed opportunities. And Tom Thibodeau's a defensive minded coach where he'd rather suffocate the opponent than outscore them, which is obviously what the team across town does in Brooklyn. So I think it's a match made in heaven. I think Thibodeau and the Knicks were meant to be together. I think it works. And I think it'd be an interesting matchup if they paired up with the Nets. I think the Nets would obviously be favored. They have more talent and they're the better team. But the way the Knicks defense plays, if they can slow down two of those three superstars on the Nets, they've got a shot.
They do, and that's really your best case scenario is slowing down two of those three guys
And it's
because
got to
you're
be Kyrie and Harden because I think Durant's going to go off against anyone.
right because they're like the LA Lakers. You got to shut down at least one, if not two of those guys, because like you said, I think Durant's going to beat you, and no matter how tough you play defense
You can
against
put
him, no
Giannis,
matter
you can put Ben Simmons. I think Durant scores on anyone in the league.
right, no matter how closely you play him, he's gonna find a way to beat you, and he's gonna find a way to the bucket. So, you got to shut down Kyrie, you got to shut down Harden, because you're not gonna shut down Durant. There's no way, and there's no way you're gonna shut down, Durant. So, and that's true anywhere he's been. You couldn't shut him down when he was with the Sonics. You couldn't shut him down in OKC. Couldn't shut him down in Golden State, and now you're not going to shut him down in Brooklyn. So,
He's right up there. I mean, we talk about the best scorers in NBA history, and this could be another debate we do another day. But you think Michael Jordan, you think Kobe Bryant, you think obviously Allen Iverson, you think Steph Curry. Um, I mean, Kevin Durant's in that top five, I think, for best scorers in the history of basketball. Maybe you throw Larry Bird in there. Maybe you throw, Kareem in there. But the pure scorers that come to my head, the top five in no particular order: MJ, Curry, KD, Kobe, AI.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, there was like five squirrels like having a fight outside. But there, yeah, I would put um Harden in that
Harden's up
conversation
there
as
too.
well because he's been one of the pure scorers in the NBA over the last 5 years. So, like you said, Durant has to be in that conversation. Also, he can get to the basket in any way possible.
Yeah.
But right, as far as I don't know about scoring. As far as shooting goes for Curry, Curry's the best shooter of all time. There's no doubt about that. But pure scorers, I would say AI and Jordan are in that conversation as well. And you put Harden
What you're
and
thinking, Kobe's
Durant, and I would put Kobe in that conversation also. So, but as far as pure scoring, Durant's one of the best in the game right now. And he's not going to stop anytime soon. Even though he's like 33 years old or ever old he is now, he's still really good, and he's still doing it at a high level. He's going to be like the next LeBron, coming out and putting up 30 at 38 years old. So, um,
And it's terrifying
right.
because he ruptured his Achilles out of his prime and came back and still averaging 30 points a game on a championship level team. I mean, Kevin Durant is the best basketball player that the NBA has had, since LeBron came into the league. I mean, he's been the Robin to LeBron's Batman for years now. I think. I mean, we've had the argument of, is Kawhi more valuable than Kevin Durant? We've had the argument on guys like Westbrook or James Harden or Kyrie or whatever. But I've personally always thought Durant's the vice president if LeBron's the president. I mean, to come off of a major injury at that in your 30s and still play at an MVP level speaks volumes to the work ethic and to the talent of Kevin Durant. I mean, we're watching an all-time talent. He's made some questionable decisions in terms of going to the Warriors after losing to him in the playoffs, stuff like that people don't always agree with. But it's an all-time talent, and it's same with LeBron. And with a guy like Luka Doncic now, just enjoy it while he's here because he's not going to be here forever.
Yeah, yeah. So, and because there are players that their primes are very short lived. I mean, the average NBA prime I think is only like 2 or 3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So, um, and that's for the prime of their career, and
Right.
that's the best they're ever going to be. So, it just gives you some, um, all the more reason to say, hey, look, you better tune in and watch these guys
No
because
doubt.
they're not going to be around for very long, and they're not going to be this good for very long. So, and it's unfortunate that I peaked and like the third grade or something like that. But it's and I will never come close to my office basketball peak. But
Hey,
I
I
I
should
think I peaked going 1 for 1 2 weeks ago at one day. So that's the best I'll ever gonna be. Retired. I'm done. My
right on top.
formal press conference coming at the end of the summer. So, um, but yeah, the prime of NBA players is very short-lived. It's just like the NFL. The average NFL career is only 3 years.
Yeah,
Imagine what their prime is, maybe 2 or 3 max, and
six
that's
years.
if you survive the 3-year average.
Yeah,
So, as far as NBA players go, I know I've said it numerous times, but I'm going to continue to say it. I'm not an NBA fan right now because I think it's just terrible to watch non-defensive basketball. They basically just step aside and say, "There's the basket, go ahead." So,
or so I can have the ball.
right. So, um, like if I'm just gonna be like, here,
Yep.
by all means, just go score. So that's
Oh my
I
bad. Did I get in your way? Yeah.
right. I can't. I'll just step aside while you go and score 50.
Yeah.
But that's basketball that I don't like watching. So, um, yeah, it's really just to see these players playing as well as they are, guys like Julius Randle, who has been a bench player his entire career, and maybe a low-level starter, has been arguably the best player for the New York Knicks this year, and that's really great to see. So,
Yeah.
the Knicks are a lot of fun to watch, and I never thought I would say that about a New York Knicks team in my lifetime, but they surely have put on a show, and I'm loving watching it right now.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about TD Garden, we've talked about Staples Center, some of these big venues in the NBA, but it feels like nothing is quite the same as Madison Square Garden when it's popping. I mean, Madison Square Garden is a totally unique atmosphere, and we saw that last night when when the Knicks went on a 30-8 run and snatched the lead at the end of the third quarter. I don't know if I've ever, and I was watching it on TV. I don't know if I've ever heard a basketball arena louder than New York City was last night.
No, no, and there's been some loud ones, you know. It's really just great to see that in New York. It really is because, like I said, they haven't had a whole lot to cheer about in New York for a while. So to see the Knicks having success and to beating a Hawks team that's not a pushover team by any
No,
means.
not at all.
So and it's just great for New York sports fans. They haven't had a whole lot to cheer about, since the Giants won the Super Bowl, and that was 10 years ago. So it's really great for New York sports fans, and I'm excited to see what the Knicks continue to do, not only in this year's playoffs but in the years ahead. Hopefully, this isn't like a one-year wonder type of thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the Knicks continue to have success, and who knows, maybe this is something that brings
Right.
bigger and better names to New York City.
Facts. Yeah, they have a max slot after this year. I don't know. Do they go after a guy like a Victor Oladipo? Do they go after a guy like a Chris Paul? Do they go after a guy like? Do they try to get like a Russell Westbrook? I don't. There's a lot of different directions that the Knicks could go, but they are definitely in the market for a star this year. And the way they're playing right now, I think stars for the first time in 8, 9 years are like, you know what? The Knicks might actually be a cool spot to play, and that's something we haven't heard, like I said, since Melo signed there. So
Yeah, and I'm excited for New York Knicks fans. I really am. I'm not a New York sports fan at all. I hate the Yankees. The
Yankees,
Giants or the Jets
Yankees
don't bother me. Um, but the Knicks are a great story. You can't hate the Knicks unless you're Reggie Miller. But that's another point we can talk about another day. Um, but yeah, the Knicks are just a great story. It's been a blast watching them play in this year's playoffs. I'll be honest, I didn't watch a whole lot of New York Knicks basketball in the regular season, but in this playoffs, they've put on a hell of a show, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, me too. It's been very exciting. And we'll get back into that. We'll actually break down the Knicks game here in a minute, but it's been fun to talk about just kind of the atmosphere that we've seen. Let's get into the final game of Tuesday night. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on WWSU 106.9 or on our YouTube channel. However you're listening to us, we do appreciate it, and I say that multiple times every day. But that just tells you how sincere I am about it. That I never forget. Dallas Mavericks and LA Clippers. The father of the LA Clippers, Luka Doncic, balled out again. This guy is just an unreal talent. 22 years old, 39 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists in 38 minutes played, hit 5 threes, 16 of 29 from the field. He went 2 of 7 at the line, which is very un-Luka-esque, but that was like the one smudge mark on his game. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 28, Kristaps had 20, Maxi Kleber had 13. The starters really carried the Mavericks in this game. Only 18 points off the bench for the Mavericks in this game, and they still managed to put up a very, very impressive performance, 127 points. Their stars balled out. They shot 58% from the field, knocked down 18 threes, and made Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were good. They combined for 69 points, but they did what they had to do. They did not let the Clippers role players carry the Clippers to a win. The Mavericks look really good right now, and they're up 2-0 going back to Texas.
They are, and they're really good. It's just no other way to say it. Luka put up 39. The guy who we didn't really expect to put up almost 30 was Hardaway. He put up 28 in this game. Porzingis had 20. So they had the three guys that we thought would perform did, and that's Hardaway, Doncic, and Porzingis. Put up 127 points. And I think it was like 70 or 80 something points that those three guys alone put up. So that's over half of the Mavericks points in that game were from three players. So they all performed very well. They really did. The Clippers struggled with the exception of Kawhi and PG. So Kawhi put up 41, PG put up 28, and those two guys were really they had to perform well, and they did, but they didn't get a whole lot from guys like Serge Ibaka. They didn't get a whole lot from Batum, Rondo, Zubats, Marcus Morris, Patrick Beverly, guys who you think they would perform didn't, and they only lost by 6, but 121 looks really good for how they played because they didn't play very well.
It does. And I saw a funny meme that just reminded me when you said Marcus Morris that Luka hit a step back, like crossover hesitation 3 over Marcus Morris. And they said that Luka officially changed his name from Luka Doncic to Marcus Morris Senior. And I think it's great. Man, I'll tell you what, it's only been, 8 games so far into his career, the 6 in the bubble and then the 2 this year in the playoffs. But playoff Luka is starting to build a legacy like, playoff Damian Lillard. Like, it seems like he elevates his game under the lights. And Luka Doncic is an MVP candidate in the regular season, but he looks like the best player in the world right now.
He does, and I know we fangirled about the Dirk Nowitzki step back shot or fade away that he performed almost to a T for the Mavericks towards the end of the regular season, and he's been brilliant. There's no other way to put it. He's been excellent.
He's 6 months older than me. You know how crappy of a human that makes me feel? Luka Doncic is only 6 months older than me, and he's like 100 million times more successful.
Yeah. 39 points. I mean, I know Kawhi put up 41, so he didn't have the highest point total in this game, but 39 is still impressive. I mean, I played basketball for like a year and a half and maybe scored 4 points career. But it's really great to see. This year's playoffs has been, I would argue it's been one of the best playoff basketball that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun to watch. And I really love it because it's not the same, it's not the same Warriors, it's not the same Cavaliers, it's not the same, the Lakers are a 7 seed who we never would have thought that after winning the finals last year. The Miami Heat have struggled after making a finals run last year, and it's been the teams that you haven't expected to play well. It's been the Suns, it's been the New York Knicks, it's been, the Memphis Grizzlies, it's been teams like the Washington Wizards. I know they've struggled in the series against the Sixers, but you get the point.
Yeah.
It's been teams that you haven't expected. And who would have thought that 5 years ago, if I looked at you and told you that the Jazz, the Knicks, the Mavericks, the 76ers, the Nets, the Nuggets, the Bucks, the Grizzlies would have been playing in the playoffs and playing well at that. You would have looked at me and go, "Get out of here! You need to go to a mental health
Right,
institution."
exactly. Right.
So, and that's it goes to show you the year over year change in the NBA is much more than any other league in sports. There's always a bunch of turnover. The two leagues that change as far as team personnel goes year after year is the NFL and the NBA.
Yep.
There's no other way to put it. So it's really been fun playoffs to watch, and I'm excited to see. And this is just the first round, Shay.
I know.
I can't wait to
It's
see.
not even 3 games in.
Right, and I just can't wait. We sit here and talk about NBA for an hour for every day for a week, and that's just 3 games into round one. I can't imagine what we're going to talk about for the next
Right.
2 or 3 weeks as far as the NBA playoffs goes.
I told you earlier this week when it's the conference finals and there's only 4 teams left, in theory, we'd probably spend less time on it. But I don't know. Like the way these playoffs are going, maybe we spend the full show talking about Nets Knicks.
Right.
No, I'm excited. I like just like you, I hadn't watched a lot of NBA this year just because I'm not as interested as I am in MLB and NFL and college football and stuff like that. Personally, like I share a pretty similar opinion as you. I'd rather watch a show on Netflix or watch Gordon Ramsay yell at people than watch 140 to 137 in an NBA.
I'd rather watch Shohei Ohtani hit a 140-mile-an-hour moonshot.
Facts.
Yeah.
And I'll shout out you for all the people listening in right now. You just started Breaking Bad, and I'm very excited for you. I've watched it 3 times. It's one of the best shows ever made, and I'm excited. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I only watched the pilot last night, but I'm excited.
It throws you right in, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I mean, the opening scene is Bryan Cranston in his underwear driving a Winnebago, so it's like whoa. Yeah, but I enjoyed the first episode, so excited to continue that. But
absolutely, I'm going to do something a little different instead. Since we've been doing an hour's worth of NBA talk straight and then an hour's worth of NFL talk straight, we're going to break it up. We're going to move into NFL now. And then in hour number 2, we're going to do the 3 games from last night in the NBA along with the top logos in sports. So we're going to try this. It might not be something that sticks, but I think at least, breaking it off a little bit might make an easier flow for the show. So NFL, there's a lot to talk about. Let's start with the GOAT of kickers in NFL history. Adam Vinatieri finally calls it a career after 24 seasons. I know he had a rough last season with the Colts, Parker, but without a doubt, in my opinion, the greatest kicker of all time.
He is, and he's the NFL's all-time leading scorer, and he's definitely in 5 years from right now he'll be wearing a gold jacket. There's no doubt about it. He's the best kicker of all time, and he's the gold standard for guys like Justin Tucker, for guys like Harrison Butker, and for really all kickers who are coming out now of college and even high school. They are trying to be the next Adam Vinatieri, So it's really so. Congratulations to Vinny on an excellent career. He won 4 Super Bowls, and he's well deserving of a gold jacket. He's going to be the next. Unless something happens that I don't know about in the next 5 years, he's going to be the next kicker into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Unless there's a guy who I'm completely over my head, completely missed me, but. Yeah, he's just he's the best of all time. He's the GOAT of kickers, like you said. So, he made the announcement on the Pat McAfee show of all places.
What a great way to retire, man.
So, he didn't put out a long sappy Instagram post like most guys do. He just went on there and said, he goes, "I have some news. I'm done." So it's really a heck of a way to go out for a guy who's really the best of all time at the position. So,
and I love that he has a quarter century of playing time. So like I saw like they put like a 3-minute montage together of all his greatest kicks, and you see these kicks to win the Super Bowl, you see these 55-yarders to win the game, and then you see an extra point in Buffalo to tie the game with 30 seconds left just because there was like 3 feet of snow and like 40-mile-an-hour winds, and he had to hit a 30-yard extra point, but he somehow put it in with 30-mile-an-hour winds and a blizzard. And it's like this dude could make a kick from anywhere for 20 years, and that's insane.
Yeah, well, and I think I saw that same video, and I think one of the videos that leads it off is like 22-year-old Vinny running down Herschel Walker on a run back of a
Yep.
of a kick. So he goes from that to being 48 years old and kicking.
Looking like Santa Claus with his white beard.
Yeah, exactly. So just a career that's really that we will never see again.
No.
We will never see a guy play 25 years in the NFL ever again. I don't care who you are, unless you're somebody who's immortal like Tom Brady. Maybe he'll get there, but I think the only position that you can play 25 years at is kicker right now. And if Tom Brady gets to 25 years, um, major props, congratulations. But it's a career that we have never seen before. This at any other position other than kicker. I know there's been guys who have played a long time at the kicker position, but we've never seen a guy who's been that successful for that long. So congratulations to Vinny.
Right. You go across different sports. You have the LeBron versus Michael Jordan debate. You have Shaq versus Hakeem. You have who's the GOAT of baseball? Is it Barry Bonds? Is it Hank Aaron? Is it Willie Mays? Is it a pitcher? Is it Pedro Martinez or Nolan Ryan or Roger Clemens or whatever? When it comes to kickers in the NFL, there's no debate. Adam Vinatieri is the Michael Jordan, is the greatest Ted Williams, whatever you want to call him. He is the greatest kicker that has ever played the sport, and he'll probably be the greatest kicker to ever play the sport because I don't see anyone, like you said, having the career of Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah, I don't either. And I know there's somebody out there
Dustin
gonna
Tucker's really good, but I don't know if he
right.
played quarter century.
And I was about to say, I know there's gonna be somebody out there. Well, Justin Tucker's really good. You're like 9 years old. Be quiet. You don't know Adam. You don't know what Adam Vinatieri's done.
Right.
He's won 4 Super Bowls. He's just had just unbelievable game winners. And I listened to the announcement yesterday, and McAfee just said, normally I try to talk to him with before he's like, yeah, are you good, man? Be like, yeah, I'm good. But when there's a game winner, he's just stone faced and
Yeah.
don't talk to him. It's like a pitcher who has a no hitter. Don't talk to him. Don't
Yep.
look at him. Let him do his thing.
Yep.
And
He's a robot.
every single time, foot to ball and through the uprights, game winner. So like you said, we'll never see another guy like Adam Vinatieri play in the NFL.
No, and it's
I don't think ever, especially in today's world with the all the different the safety protocols really helped, but I don't think there will be never another career like Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah, and I mean, I think every kicker in the NFL has the leg talent to, hit a 55, 60 yarder. But it's so hard to be clutch and consistent in the NFL. And that's something that Adam Vinatieri did better than anyone, be clutch and consistent. And the Bengals just took a kicker out of Florida who has a lot of hype behind him, Elliot McPherson, or Evan McPherson, I'm sorry. But he kicked a 61 yarder in a game against LSU this year. And he also put a Gatorade bottle up in one of the support beams inside an indoor practice facility and kicked the cap off of the Gatorade bottle while keeping the bottle on the beam. So this dude's like a really good kicker, and I'm hyped to have him in Cincinnati. But I think the two most important traits for a kicker, because everyone has the leg, it's consistency and it's how do you kick in the clutch. And nobody did it better than Adam Vinatieri.
And that's all mental. It really is. If you get inside your own head, you're not going to make that field goal or extra point or whatever it is. So I mean, I know I went to a Colts game a few years back, and it was when the Colts were bad. It was the year they went 4-12, but it was like 46-year-old Adam Vinatieri lining up to kick a 54-yard field goal at 47 years old with 3 seconds left, and he drilled it, and Lucas Oil Stadium went nuts. So that's just the only way you can describe the long-term success of Adam Vinatieri, kicking game winners from 55 yards at 45 years old. So it's really impressive, and he didn't have a good last year in the NFL. Struggled a bit, I think we all knew that year was going to come, and I think even he said it. The year where I hurt my team and I don't help my team is the year that I know I'm done, and that's literally what happened. So,
Yeah.
but that's not to dispel just a hell of a career that Vinny had.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left here in hour number 1, so let's move on again. Congratulations to Adam Vinatieri, the greatest kicker in NFL history, finally calling it a career. Trevor Lawrence had some interesting comments on Tim Tebow yesterday. And I mean, I know Trevor Lawrence is going to be a stud in the NFL. I don't think it's a hot take to know that. But he's already displaying at 21 years old just exceptional leadership and exceptional maturity for somebody in that position, a rookie number 1 overall pick in the NFL. No one, he said on Tim Tebow, no one is going to work harder than him. Those are the kind of guys you want in your locker room. He looks great so far. I mean, a lot of guys, especially, young first round draft picks, would take offense to signing a guy like Tim Tebow for I don't know if it's showmanship. I don't know if it's for ticket sales. I don't know if it's for jersey sales. I don't know if they actually think this guy has a spot on the roster. But a lot of guys would get upset about something like that. Like when the Packers drafted at Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers did not. I mean, Aaron Rodgers said that he has nothing against Jordan Love. He loves Jordan Love as a kid. But I mean, that's not what Aaron Rodgers wanted the Packers to do to make them a better football team. And so Trevor Lawrence could have very easily handled this a completely different way and been frustrated by this. But the way he handled this just speaks volumes to his maturity, to his leadership ability. And that's why he's going to succeed in the NFL. I was taught to hate him at Clemson because I'm an Ohio State fan and he's a very good quarterback and a winner. But Trevor Lawrence is a likable dude and he's going to do great things in Jacksonville.
He is. And I know I saw when Jacksonville signed Tim Tebow. I know Mel Kiper was on ESPN talking about it. Mel, if it's not the draft, get off TV. Just saying.
And even
Mel,
if it is the draft, shut up and let McShay talk.
I feel like when the draft starts, Mel can come out of hiding, and on Saturday afternoon when the draft ends, go home and sleep for a year until the draft. So, but yeah, Tim Tebow is a guy who has experience in those locker room guys. Another thing with Adam Vinatieri, he was just a heck of a locker room guy, and I think that's why the Colts kept him around for so long.
Yeah,
is because he was a great guy for the locker room. There's guys that may not be great players on the field, but they're great for the locker room. And those are guys that a lot of GMs and coaches want to keep around because those guys are the bridge between the locker room and the coaches.
Why do you think guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tyrod Taylor and Andy Dalton keep getting jobs? Because they're likable dudes that make the locker room, make the team culture better. They might not be the most talented guys on the field, but the reason why teams keep signing Ryan Fitzpatrick as a 6-week bridge quarterback every year is because he has a lot to teach a young kid, and he's going to have that task with Kyle Allen and who's the other guy? Taylor Heineke. So I mean, I think that guys like Fitzpatrick, guys like Dalton. I mean, Andy Dalton frustrated the absolutely living crap out of me when he was in Cincinnati because he was just so inconsistent and so mediocre a lot of the time. But I know, he's a family man. Everyone in the locker room loved him to death. Even though, he's very different from a lot of guys in that locker room. A lot of those guys in the locker room are kind of, tough, gritty dudes. And Andy Dalton's just this white ginger from Catholic Texas. But he's a likable guy. That's why Dallas took a shot on him. That's why everyone in Dallas loved him. And that's why Chicago's going to love him too. Guys like Andy Dalton, guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick, and guys like Tim Tebow. They just make your locker room better. And they make, they make it like Trevor Lawrence said. Nobody's going to work harder than Tim Tebow, and that work ethic's going to rub off on a lot of the young guys in the Jacksonville clubhouse.
Yeah, and this may be something that keeps Tim Tebow around for the year. A lot of people think he'll be cut before week 1, but his leadership with the locker room is something that Urban Meyer may want to keep around for having that bridge between the players and the coaches. So. There are guys that are like that. I know. I'm going to watch some Jacksonville football this year with being the Colts fan, and they're in the division. But I've been told that I'm miserable to be around during Colts football games, which is fine. If you don't want to sit around and watch Colts games with me, by all means, leave. I'm not.
The Bengals this year?
What's that?
Do the Colts play the Bengals this year?
I think they do. I know they play. I know they play every year in the preseason, but that doesn't matter.
They don't play in the preseason this year, though. That's what's funny.
That's interesting because they always have that week 4 Cincinnati game in the preseason. But
let me pull up the Bengals schedule really quick. I'll check.
I'm actually
live radio, folks.
I'm actually curious. They don't play the Bengals this year.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. Next time they play the Colts, we'll go.
But they do play the Seahawks.
They do.
So Scotty, if you're out there listening, they're going to beat the Seahawks ass, buddy.
Oh,
So
I think the Colts are a better team than the Seahawks. I don't think that's.
they are, and I know I'm going to get a lot of crap from Scotty about that, but do I care? Absolutely not. So,
Absolutely not.
but yeah, going back to the Tim Tebow and Jaguars thing. He's he was okay in Denver. I mean, he was great, one of the best college quarterbacks of all time, if not the best college quarterbacks of all time. He's reunited with his old coach at Florida, in Urban Meyer. He went and played baseball, not very well for the Mets for about 5 years or so, but he's back in the NFL at 34 years old or however old he is. I don't know. I honestly don't know why they signed him as a tight end. It'll be interesting to see how he plays. But it's something that he's that Trevor Lawrence said this yesterday. Quote: "I never met Tim until last week, so I didn't really know him, but I was intrigued by his character, his work ethic, and what he's been able to do throughout life, on and off the field. All those things are really interesting. So I was excited to meet him. When it was official, I saw him in the locker room and had a few good conversations, and I really like him. And that's going to be true with everybody in that locker room. Tim Tebow is going to rub off on everybody." I know I heard it in an interview that he's like the nicest dude in the world.
I've heard that. Yep.
And it's not fair that he's really good looking as well. I mean,
and an
it's not fair.
and an insane super athlete, maybe the greatest college football player of all time.
It's just not fair, man. A lot of I would be lucky
Some
to
people
pick.
are blessed more than others, Parker.
Exactly. Apparently, we're not those people. So
hey, speak for yourself, man.
But it's right, and it's something that Tebow it's been said that he's the nicest dude in the world, and he's going to be really good for the locker room, and I think that's why Urban Meyer keeps him around.
I agree. All right, we got about 2 minutes left here in hour number 1, so let's really quickly hit on the match. We can also pick up with this in hour number 2, but Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau go up against Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. It's the champs versus the polarizing, I don't want to say villains, but the polarizing dudes in their respective sports. So this is exciting. It's Jedis versus Dark Side. I'll let you pick who's who. But this is an exciting match, and I don't watch a ton of golf, but I'm excited for this because last year Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady was great. I was kind of hoping they'd find a way to get Eli in on this because Eli said he'd do it. But Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau is not a bad card, so this will be really fun.
No, not at all. I'm not the biggest Bryson fan, but I love his style. The smaller,
He's like the Trevor Bauer of golf, man. He just brings
right
into it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm really excited for this. Peyton Manning and Phil's like the biggest trash talker in the world. He's like the Phillip Rivers of golf. So
we need to have Rivers and Phil be on opposite teams next year and just
exactly
gnaw each other all day.
Exactly. If Rodgers doesn't do it next year, if any other NFL player doesn't do it next year, get Uncle Phil out there to do it because I would love to see that Phil and Rivers go back and forth. But
nice
Phil
play,
Mickelson had that. I know. Yeah. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I know. I love the Peyton Manning Tiger Woods matchup last year, and I know Phil and Tom Brady are going to come out looking for win number 2. But this is going to be a lot of fun. The Twitter trash talk yesterday was phenomenal. Like I've said many times, if you do not have Twitter, get on there because of moments like this. I love this. This is so much fun to watch on Twitter.
Memes. Oh my goodness.
July 6th. I think one of the best parts about this is having Charles Barkley walk the course and just commentate with the players there. I mean, this is like the ultimate like insane match of football players versus pro golfers with inside the NBA commentators. I mean, what is happening with this? But
next thing you know, Happy Gilmore is going to be on the course for 18.
Like, what is happening with this? I don't know why, but I love this. This is like awesome to watch. So, I mean, Brady put out
the NBA is the best sports pregame show on television. There's no doubt about it.
Right. And Tom Brady put out a tweet yesterday: 2 old guys against the young Bucks. Better get used to laying up because we know Aaron Rodgers isn't going for it. I love that. I mean, I hated Tom Brady for the longest time, but he's just
Kepka
He's
and
just
Kepka and DeChambeau were going back and forth on Twitter, and Phil just comes out of nowhere and he's like, "Sorry guys, I feel like I'm getting in the middle of something, but they asked for winners."
right, right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and I love. I mean, they put the biggest accomplishment recently for each guy. You know, Phil, 6-time major winner, defending PGA Championship winner. Bryson DeChambeau, 2020 U.S. Open champion. Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl champion, and Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers,
Jeopardy
reigning
host.
league MVP. So this is just
Yeah.
if you're not a golf fan, watch this
This will
because
get you into
this will make you love golf. I promise you.
Yeah. Hour number 1 in the books. I have a really funny Charles Barkley story when we get back in hour number 2, and we'll use that to talk about the 3 NBA games from last night. And then it's the best logos in sports. We still got a ton to get into in hour number 2. So keep it locked, keep it real. It's a happy Thursday to all of you. We're also going to, I mean, just momentarily at the time of us recording this, I mean, Parker, we're like, what are we now? 19 minutes away from Jake Schramm taking the mound over at the Nish.
This is going to be fun. The match, Raider gang baseball,
What a
NBA
day.
playoffs. What a summer we picked to do this show, man.
Yes, sir. All right, let's step away for a few minutes so Pat doesn't kill me. When we come back, hour number 2, Barkley wins a race. I know, crazy. Also, NBA talk and the best logos in sports. We'll also probably throw in some hype about the Raider gang. Don't go anywhere. Hour number 2 is coming up next. Hour number 2 of Keep It Real. You're keeping it real. We're keeping it real. You're keeping it locked. Good Lord. I tried to be cool on that comeback and I just butchered it. Jeez. Yikes. I'm glad your camera was off because I just would have cried because you would have been laughing and I would have
Oh,
probably.
I am. I'm laughing on the inside.
I know. So I just found out our engineer canceled his office hours today, so I could have been recording in the studio this whole time, but
It's okay.
yeah,
It's okay.
whatever. Funny story. Charles Barkley raced. I don't know if were you watching Inside the NBA last night?
I was not.
Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith had a race from the table to the scoreboard thing that
Oh
they
boy.
thing, and Chuck won. Nobody thought Chuck would win, and Chuck won. So they said, he's Kenny the Jet, but without the jet now.
Oh, Kenny.
Chuck,
Why'd you have to lose to Chuck? Come on, man.
Chuck won. Shaq lost his mind and shot off balloons and started playing Lil Jon shot, and everyone's going crazy and it's great. And then Shaq just goes on national TV and he's like, America, Chuck just won a race.
Well, I saw an article last night that said about the NHL that said they need to cover with Turner. They have the NHL has a new media partnership with TNT.
Yeah.
So they need to put Charles Barkley on NHL games.
Oh my goodness.
I would love it.
Oh my goodness.
If Charles Barkley can do basketball, the match, and NHL, TNT is much CTV.
Might as well start letting him call Auburn football games too on CBS.
Yes, let's do it. Put Chuck in the booth.
Romo and Charles Barkley on Auburn football games all summer long.
Yeah, you hear Romo going, "Here we go, Chuck. This is terrible."
Romo predicts the play, and Chuck just looks at him. He's like, "Tony, that play call is just terrible."
This has to happen.
Oh man, Nance would just get replaced.
As we speak, I'm looking at my TV, patiently waiting for Raider Gang baseball to come on.
Facts. You got 10 more minutes until first pitch. Jake Strand's on the bullpen pump and shed. It's soon, and we're excited for it. Let's get into back into the NBA. We kind of broke it up a little bit, so you didn't have to listen to us talk NBA for an hour and 15 minutes straight. So we gave you a little bit of NFL in there, and now we're going to get back into it. Washington did not look as good last night as they did in Game 1. Philly looked a lot better. Philly was led, of course, by Ben Simmons, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Also played great defense again. 4 steals and 5 blocks from Matisse Thybulle, one of the best defenders in the league. Everyone talks about Ben Simmons, but not enough people talk about how good of a defender Matisse Thybulle is. Also, Joel Embiid had 22 points, 7 rebounds. Tobias Harris had 19 points and 9 rebounds. George Hill ended up with 7 off the bench. And Dwight Howard had 11 rebounds in just 16 minutes off the bench. This Philly team really got a lot of different contributions, and that's what made it tough for this Washington team to keep up. Westbrook got hurt. It was not his day even before he got hurt. But Bradley Beal had 33, but really other than Beal, especially after the Westbrook injury, this Wizards team was just undermanned, and Philly took advantage of that.
They did, and they played well defensively also. The Wizards really didn't play very well. Westbrook struggled. Beal played well like he always does, but like I said last week, you need great games from 3 of your players if you want to beat any of these teams in the playoffs. You need great games from Beal. You need great games from Westbrook, and Daniel Gafford is a guy that I now expect to have a great game because he's just played so well here in these playoffs. But talking about Philly, they played well. I love George Hill. I'm a sucker for George Hill because he went to IUPUI, played for the Pacers for a long time. It still bothers me that they traded George Hill for Kawhi Leonard after the Pacers drafted Kawhi Leonard. I will never get over that. But, the 76ers played well. Tobias Harris had 19. Embiid and Simmons both had 22. Ferdinand Korkmaz had 13. But Matisse Thybulle played well defensively, very well defensively, and holding these Wizards to 95 points. I've said it all for the entirety of the playoffs. If you can keep a team under 100, you win a very, very strong percentage of the time.
You do, and that's exactly what happened here. The Wizards just were outclassed. Shot only 40% from the field. Philly shot 56%. Philly didn't even have to shoot a bunch of threes, only made 9 3-point shots. The Wizards shot 2 of 22 from downtown. They struggled at the free throw line. Really, just anything that could have been done better was done better by the Sixers. Washington's just got to kind of reset and forget this game even happened, because if they play like this again, their season's over.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, the Wizards have played. They're very streaky. They come out and they play very well one night, and then come out and have a night like this, and don't play well at all. So they need to have a bounce back game coming up here in Game 3. They really do. They've struggled for the entirety of this series. They haven't played very good basketball, with the exception of Beal and Westbrook. And Westbrook struggled last night. So they need to come out and they need to have a strong Game 3 coming up here on Friday night. So they need to come out and they need to play well, and I think they will. I hope they will, for the sake of Washington fans. But it's gonna be tough, no doubt about it. So we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see Westbrook and Beal play well like they always have. But if Philadelphia continues to play good defensive basketball like they did last night, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough for Washington.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. And I think that I don't want to turn this, obviously, my intentions for this is not to turn this into a political show. And I don't think I am. But before we move into the next one, Russell Westbrook, when he was leaving the court last night with an injury, there was a big thing that went viral on a fan dumping popcorn on him. And I told you, that fan is very lucky that security was able to keep Russell Westbrook from charging, because it looked like we were about to have Malice at the Palace round 2. Westbrook
Right.
looked like he was going to hurt somebody. And I see both sides of it. I get that, a lot of Philly fans are like, hey, he doesn't represent all of us. It's just popcorn. Why are you making a big deal out of it? I mean, maybe, but one, it's extremely disrespectful. I mean, for anyone who says like it's not a big deal, I say let somebody walk into you let somebody walk up to you at your job, dump food on you, and see if you're cool with it. Because I know I wouldn't, for one. Like, I know if I don't think you do it, but I know if you walked into my office and dumped something on me, I'd want to throw hands. I would. And I think that's a reasonable response. So I see that side of it from Russell Westbrook. And I mean, as much as I've in the past said that a lot of these professional athletes are spoiled and sometimes treated with more, they get more benefits than they necessarily should. At times, fans treat them like zoo animals, and that's not okay either. I mean, it's time that we start respecting the players. And the reason why the fans do stuff like this is because they know that there's no repercussions. They know that the players are never going to be able to get up to the stands and respond. And that's attacking somebody that can't attack back. And that's messed up. That's attacking anyone is wrong, but especially when they can't fight back, that's messed up. We got to start respecting the players, in my opinion. Quit treating them like they're, I mean, I know they're entertainment, but quit treating them like they're a freaking zoo animal at an exhibit that you're going to see with your kids. I mean, it's a world-class athlete that deserves your respect because he put 150% in to try and put a show on for you. So that's just my take on it. I know Russell Westbrook was absolutely heated last night. I think he has a right to be heated last night. And he said, I know for a fact that dude would never, ever do that to me on the street because he know how it would end. And I 100% agree. They take advantage of it when they know that the players can't fight back.
Yeah, and this, like you said, this is a respect thing for me. I mean, I understand that you're at a game and the game is supposed to be fun for fans, but if that's your definition of fun, don't go to games. I mean, what's fun about an NBA game is watching the actual game, win or lose. Watching the game is what's fun about going to an NBA game,
Yep.
and that's true in any sport, whether it's football, baseball, or hockey, whether it's anything. It's a respect thing, and we saw it with Ron Artest in the Malice at the Palace. The guy threw beer on him, jumps over the scores table into the stands, and it was
Beats
just
the
a
crap
massive.
out of him.
It was just a massive brawl. It's the worst NBA fight in history to me.
Right.
It really is. And that last night, after seeing the way that Russell Westbrook reacted, even though he had an injury, adrenaline takes over, and he was really upset. And I don't blame him. I mean,
No.
like you said, if somebody at the Nutter Center came out threw popcorn at me while I was calling the game, I wouldn't be happy about it either. And Westbrook, deservedly so. He was really upset, and I hope they find who that fan is and don't allow him.
They've already banned him.
Right. Good.
From the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. And that's what should happen. There's no place. There's no place for that in any sport. I mean,
Not
like you
at all.
said, it's a respect thing. They're the best in the world at what they do,
Right.
and for you to throw popcorn on them because you think it's funny is not
Especially when he's
okay
walking
in
off with an
anything.
injury.
Right. Right. I mean, if you're upset, I mean, there's better ways to handle it than that.
Right. And I mean, not that, verbal bullying is any better. But I think a lot of players have gotten kind of used to people just swearing at him, yelling at him, and stuff like that. I don't think Russell Westbrook would have reacted the way he reacted if it was just, somebody cussing him out for playing like crap, because that happens at every game around the world. I mean, we went to a Reds game a couple months ago, and I mean, we were making fun of a guy named Pavin Smith for like 7 innings. That just happens at sporting events. I have nothing against Pavin Smith. I just thought it was a dumb name. I still do, but no, I think that, like you said, and that's the big thing about this. It's respect. It's not that Russell Westbrook thinks that he deserves more than this fan or whatever, or that he's higher up than this fan. It's person versus person, human versus human, and if one person disrespects another person like that, I think 98% of people would react very similarly to how Russell Westbrook reacted. You're going to get upset. Maybe you don't try to attack the guy, because I know not everyone's like instantly like Russell Westbrook's a very emotional guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve. I don't think, not necessarily everyone would react like that and just instantly be ready to fight, but I think a lot of people would be very upset with it. And I personally, this is my take, and maybe this isn't everyone's take, but I think if you're not upset with something like that happening, if that happened to you, you don't have enough self-respect for yourself.
Right. And this is something that, I mean, heckling is a part of any sport, and a lot of times it's funny.
Yeah.
And it's fun and it's funny, and I do it. And I know you do it too, because we both did it at that Reds game. But I think the spot where it's most funny is at baseball games. People who sit behind umpires and just yell at the umpire the whole game is something that I think is quite frankly hilarious, and it's a part of every sport at any level. I mean, I coach Little League baseball, and there's Little League parents that get upset more than Major League people do.
The two most dangerous types of fans on the planet are Little League baseball parents and volleyball parents. Oh my goodness, volleyball parents get heated.
They do, and we've seen it with lots of people, and the heckling is a part of any sport, but there's no place for throwing food on people,
Absolutely.
For throwing drinks on people.
There's a very, very fine line between heckling and having fun at a sporting event and disrespecting somebody. And that fan definitely crossed that line. I'm not the biggest Russell Westbrook fan in the world, but he's a world-class athlete. You paid good money to go watch him play. He deserves your respect. And that was just completely disrespectful.
Right. And there's a point to where even heckling can get out of hand when you start name calling,
or like insulting their families or something like that. There's no
right, and just playful heckling is something that it's fun, like we said, but there's even a fine line between that and disrespecting somebody, right. and what we saw last night there in Philadelphia. There's no place for that anywhere.
Absolutely. And props to the Sixers organization and props to the Wells Fargo Center for addressing it as fast as they did. I know that Philly sports fans get a lot of bad rep because there are a lot of fans like that. But I mean, it's just like New York. It's just like LA. There's always that bunch of fans that are not representative of the large, massive fan base. But I saw the video, and I give a lot of credit to Sixers fans. They instantly pointed at the guy who did it and made sure that he was held accountable for that. So a lot of respect to the Sixers organization for handling it so quickly, and a lot of respect to the Wells Fargo Center for putting their foot down, saying, hey, this isn't something that belongs in our arena. This isn't something that belongs in the NBA. It's not going to happen again.
Right. And it's something that doesn't belong in any sport anywhere at any level. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like you said, major props to the NBA and to the Sixers organization and to the Sixers fans for pointing out the person who did that, and so they could find that person and punish them appropriately, and they did, in banning him from going to Sixers games for life. So and that's really what should happen, because if you do that at any level, you don't deserve to go to a game, because if that's your definition of fun, you shouldn't be there.
No, absolutely. There's plenty of people across Philadelphia that weren't at that game last night that I'm sure would have loved to be there and would have handled it so much better.
And that's something that for like you said, Philly fans get a bad rap, and it's for people like that. Not everybody's like that, and it's like the old adage: one or two people can ruin it for everybody, and that's what happened last night. And I mean, I saw the video, and when the camera feed zoomed out a little bit, you could see Philadelphia fans pointing at the person who did that, and that's and major props to them, because that person doesn't belong at any sporting event ever.
Yep, a lot of respect. I think the situation was handled about as well as it could have. It's unfortunate that it happened, but I think the Sixers and the NBA, like you said, did a really good job of handling it efficiently and appropriately. So let's get into my favorite game of the night last night, Knicks and Hawks. We talked about how great New York was last night. Julius Randle, again, was not himself, only having 15 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. I joked last night, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, I said it's 2021 and I'm going to spend 20 minutes on a sports talk show talking about Derrick Rose and Reggie Bullock. But here we go. Reggie Bullock had 15 last night, 4 enormous threes in that second half to get the Knicks some momentum. Derrick Rose looked like the Derrick Rose of Chicago when he was one of the best basketball players on the planet. 26 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, only 1 turnover, and he played 39 minutes, most on the team. Derrick Rose is back, and as an NBA fan, that is so good to see because he deserves it.
It is, and he hasn't played well since his MVP year 10 years ago. So he's been one of the bright spots for the Knicks, one of the many bright spots I never thought I'd say about a Knicks team, but one of the many bright spots for Tom Thibodeau. And it's like, I mean, I know we're not going to talk about the Knicks enough. I mean, we can sit here and talk about the Knicks for 2 hours, the whole damn show, if we want to, and we just might sometimes if they continue to play well and continue to go further into these playoffs. We'll talk about them for as long as we feel like it. And if you don't want to listen, you don't have to. But we're going to sit here and talk about this for as long as we feel like we have to, because watching that last night was so much fun, and I can't wait to see what the Knicks continue to do. I can't hear you, buddy.
Yeah, the phone started ringing, so I muted and I forgot to unmute. That's my bad. The Knicks are a fun basketball team right now. It's not just that the Knicks are in the playoffs. It's that the Knicks roster is fun to watch. They play scrappy. They're very athletic. They have some good shooters. They're led by guys like Derrick Rose and Julius Randle, not guys that you'd expect to be leading a team in the playoffs in 2021. So it's really, really cool to see them accomplish what they're accomplishing right now. And like I said, I'm not a Knicks fan, but to see Julius Randle take that next step and become a star, to see the Knicks live up to the hype for once, and to see Derrick Rose finally get back to that level that he was at before all those terrible knee injuries, it's just really cool to see as a basketball fan. And I'll tell you right now, Derrick Rose is like the adopted child of New York right now. And if the Knicks don't give him a nice contract, Knicks fans are going to be very upset.
They will, and same way with Julius Randle. These two guys have carried the New York Knicks all year, and I'm sure they will be paid appropriately coming up here in the offseason. And the Knicks also have a slot for a max contract, like you said. So if they can get Rose and Julius Randle back and add a max player like a Victor Oladipo or somebody like that, the Knicks are going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, I think if they find the right piece in that max slot, the max slot is such a huge risk. I don't want to say risk. It's such a huge, high risk, high reward, where if you make the right decision, it makes you a championship team. But if you pick the wrong player to give a max contract, it could hold your organization back for 5 years. So if they go out for a guy like Oladipo, we've seen it in the past, Parker. He's got the talent to be an all-NBA, all-star caliber player, but he's gone through so much injury and so much inconsistency. If he doesn't pan out, that just throws the entire Knicks competitive window out the door. So the Knicks have to play this card right. Maybe they go after Chris Paul and move, Derrick Rose to the shooting guard position. Maybe they go after Russell Westbrook in a trade. I don't know what they decide to do, but it's a big task for Leon Rose and that front office. They have a chance to be the third best team in the East next year, in my opinion, behind the Nets and behind either the Sixers or the Bucks. I think they're right up there in that conversation. And if they make the right decision with that max slot, the Knicks are going to be a very, very good, young, hungry basketball team next season.
They are, and they're going to be a lot of fun to watch, and by the way, as we speak, Raider Gang baseball underway from the niche right now.
Rand pitching his butt off.
He is. So, like we said, if
put on the TV out in the lobby when we're done here.
Right, and I know we're not live on WWSU right now, but we will be live tweeting on our new Raider Sports account, so be sure to follow us there. But yeah, excited for that. The Knicks are going to be a lot of fun, and they really are. If they can, like you said, if they can add that talent and retain players like Rose, players like Randall, and add a few more bench players, they're going to be scary next year. They really are. And like you said, I wouldn't be surprised to see them be a top 5 team in the East.
Absolutely. How perfectly has this roster been constructed? Where they have Randall and they have Rose, who have done a great job all season long. I'm sorry, I'm tweeting, by the way, that we're live tweeting updates on our sports account. But how good have they been that Rose and Randall have gotten all the glory, but you have guys like Alec Burks who dropped 27 in game 1. You have guys like Reggie Bullock that hit so many big shots last night. You have Nerlens Noel. You have Emmanuel Quickly. You have Obi Toppin, 2 very young, talented players. There's just so many good players on this roster. The reason why the Knicks are succeeding right now is because Randall and Rose can be themselves because they know they have a good team around them. This Knicks team was built really well, and it's funny to say because they've been a meme for a decade, but it's a good roster that was built well by that front office, and they're coached well by Tom Thibodeau. It's been a great effort all year.
It is, and it's been a lot I've said it like 47 times this week, but it's been a lot of fun to watch. The Knicks are a lot of fun to watch, and I'm excited to see what they continue to do here in these playoffs and coming up next year if they can continue to add to the talent that they already have.
Absolutely. Okay, hang on one second. I have like 4 more words. Oh my goodness, live radio is so fun, isn't it?
Right. Yes. Yeah. It is.
But let's talk about the Hawks really quick. We've talked so much Knicks today, but the Hawks are a dangerous team. They've played really well in this series. They have Kevin Huerter, they have DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Bogdan Bogdanovic had a great night last night. Danilo Gallinari off the bench, Tony Snell, Clint Capella, Lou Williams. There's a lot of scorers and shooters on this team. But what I noticed last night is what worried me about the Hawks at Parker, and it's why I picked the Knicks before the series started. When Trae Young's not on the court, they're not a very good team. And Trae Young can't play 48 minutes a day. That bench is going to have to step up when they go back to Atlanta, and they're going to have to find a way to be a decent team when Trae Young's not on the floor. Because when Trae Young's on the floor, the Hawks look like the better team. But when Trae Young's not on the floor is when the Knicks have been able to seize momentum.
Yeah, they have. And
what happened? What I just saw you.
Yeah, there was the umpire called time as Strand was releasing his pitch.
I hate that. I used to pitch, and I can't stand that.
Yeah, so and it made Strand airmail his pitch over Piotto's head, but that's okay. But back to the Hawks.
Sometimes it's healthier, and my coach told me this. Sometimes it's healthier when you just follow through on the release, because if you start your windup and then they call time and you stop, like that's when you hurt your shoulder. So
right, yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta throw it.
Yeah. So that's going back to the Hawks. It worries me as well because Trae Young is the one bright spot that this Hawks team has, and he's the guy who's carried this Hawks team through the entire year and into the NBA playoffs. So without Young, the Hawks struggle. They really do, and we saw that last night.
Yeah, they do, and that's what the Hawks and the Knicks are both very talented, but both very inexperienced, and that's what's been fun about this series. They're kind of learning together on the fly. Trae Young's been the best player in this series, but I think the Knicks are the better basketball team. So it really just comes down to, can Trae Young outplay the Knicks by himself, or does the Knicks team take advantage of the Hawks' lack of depth when Trae Young's not on the floor? So I'm excited. It's going to Atlanta, and it's a dogfight. It might be my favorite series of the first round.
It will be. And this Knicks Hawks series has been one that we both looked forward to going into these playoffs, as well as Suns Lakers. Game 3 is tonight, and I'm going to be watching that game. And but going back to this not Hawks Knicks series, the Knicks have two players that they really rely on, and that's Randall and Derrick Rose, and the one player that the Hawks can rely on is Trae Young. So I know they have John Collins there as well, but the Knicks are really I think they're the more talented team, and I'm really excited to see them and hopefully continue into these playoffs.
Yeah, I think if you asked, like what team I'm pulling for in this playoffs, I think my answer would be Dallas, just because I'm a big Luka fan. But my team out of the East that is my favorite to watch right now is the Knicks. So I'm very excited to watch the Knicks. And I really think they get out of the first round, and the way they're playing right now, I really think they have a shot at getting out of the second round against a team like Philly. I mean, maybe I'm saying this just because I want the matchup, but I think Nets Knicks is definitely a possibility.
Yeah, it is, and that's something that I think we would never have said. Uh, I mean, even a year or two ago, is hey, the Nets and Knicks are going to be the Eastern Conference Finals. People are going to be like, what? What are you talking about? I mean, just go home because you have no idea what you're talking about. But it's insane to think about because it really is a possibility, and to say that we could see Suns Jazz or Suns Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, we could have a Suns Knicks NBA Finals. I mean, what? So it's insane to think about. It really is. But speaking of the Jazz Grizzlies series, I mean, that
Yeah.
game was, I mean, one of the highest scoring games of the entire playoffs last night.
Yep. Donovan Mitchell did not skip a freaking beat, my guy. He missed a month and a half with a sprained ankle, had 1 day to practice, and came back and looked like a stud last night.
Yeah, he did. So and he played really well, and they had really they had 7 guys in double figures last night for the Utah Jazz, and those guys were Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, Mitchell, Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Royce O'Neal. So that and I mean 7 of the 9 guys who were on the court last night scored double figures, and that's why they put up 141 points. They played really well. They really did. John Morant put up 47 points, which is insane, but it wasn't enough. And for the Jazz last night, the Jazz shot better from the field. They went 54%. They shot better from three, 48%, 77% on free throws. And they won the rebounding battle, and they won all those statistics, and they deserved to win last night, and they did, and they won that game last night handily.
They did. Yeah, they did. And it's exciting because, I mean, there's been a debate for a while when talking about the Utah Jazz, and it's, who's the more valuable player for Utah? Is it Donovan Mitchell or is it Rudy Gobert, who's one of the best defenders in the NBA? I have nothing against Rudy. He's a top tier defender and he's a great, all-star caliber center. But I think we learned last night in game 2 that Donovan Mitchell is the most important player on the Utah Jazz.
He is, and that's something that is crazy to say that because they have a lot of depth there in Utah, but
when Donovan plays, it's a different team. They have a lot of
it
depth
is.
regardless, but when Donovan plays, I feel like they play more relaxed because they know they have their superstar.
It is, and when Mitchell doesn't play, they still play well, but when Mitchell's on the court, they turn it up to a whole nother level.
Yeah, they do. John Morant. Oh my goodness, how good was Ja last night?
He was very good,
47
very good,
points. Oh my goodness.
unbelievable
I'll
last
tell
night
you
from
what.
John Morant.
People have been saying this since draft night last year, but John Morant and Zion need to team up.
They do, I mean, what a team that would be, right? Unbelievable. I mean, John Morant puts up 47. Zion, I think personally, is overhyped, but
20
he's
and
still
10 for
good.
Zion every night.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a team that I would tune in to watch. You put Zion on this Grizzlies team with Valanciunas, Grayson Allen, another Duke alum, John Morant, Dylan
Dylan-
Brooks. I
Yep.
mean, it would be just a lot of fun to watch. It really would.
It would, and I mean, it's a situation where both of those guys are free agents the same year. It could happen. So, um, no, Ja played great last night, but what worries me about the Grizzlies is they won when Donovan didn't play, and that's a huge win that they stole in Utah. But last night they didn't even play that bad. They scored 100 and what was it, 120 points. How many points did Memphis score last night?
129.
129. They scored 130 points. John Morant had 47. They played good basketball for most of the night, but it still wasn't enough. And that's what worries me. I think they played about as well as they could have played, and Utah's just better.
They are, and I mean, like I said, they put up. Even though the Grizzlies had 5 players in double figures, the Jazz had 7 players in double figures last night. 7, and it's really an amazing feat that Quinn Snyder has this team in right now, and an amazing position that they have to make a run.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Quinn Snyder has done a great job all season long. There's so many deserving Coach of the Year candidates this year. I mean, talk about Nate McMillan with the Hawks, Monty Williams with the Suns. And then you have, I mean, like you just said, Quinn Snyder with the Jazz. You have, how about, crap, he just spaced my mind. Oh, Tom Thibodeau with the
Yeah,
Knicks. If
yeah.
Suns weren't so dang good this year, Tom Thibodeau would deserve Coach of the Year.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure Monty Williams will get it, deservingly so. But there are easily 4 or 5 coaches in the NBA that are deserving of this. I mean, you could talk about Steve Nash with the Suns or with the Nets. I'm sorry, but I mean, I think I could win Coach of the Year with that roster, but that's beside the point. We talk about, I mean, Monty Williams with the Suns, Quinn Snyder with the Jazz. Thibodeau in New York. There's a bunch of guys that are deserving. So, and that's why I think these playoffs have been so fun. I really do.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, we're gonna do something a little unexpected and different. And we're actually going to end the show 20 minutes early today because I want to make sure that this video renders before 1 o'clock. We're doing it a little bit up against the wall than we normally do. So I want to make sure that we have enough time to process everything, get it ready to go. We'll open the show tomorrow with the best logos in sports. We'll kick off the show with that tomorrow so we don't forget about it. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of more NBA talk to get into. We're starting college football right around the corner. And I'm hoping we get to talk about the Raider gang walloping Milwaukee today. So I'm about to go put that on out in the lobby while this video uploads. But Parker, any closing thoughts today on Keep It Real before we meet up for Friday?
Go Raiders, baby.
Raider gang, let's get it. Strand needs to have the game of the year, which I think he'll deliver on. And Q-Tip needs to live up to his MVP name and deliver the goods today for the Raider gang.
He did. He just got on base and stole second, so he's off to a good start.
Quincy Hamilton, ladies and gentlemen, the best player in the Horizon League. All right, we're going to let you enjoy the Raider gang. Well, they'll be pretty much over by the time you listen to this, but we're going to go enjoy the Raider gang. We appreciate you for enjoying the show. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on WWSU 106.9 and on our YouTube channel. Until then, for Testa and Neal, I'm saying so long and keep it real.